The Etan Patz case, the boy who changed America. It was an ordinary Friday morning, May 25th, 1979. The streets of Manhattan were beginning to stir with the typical movement of a weekday. Julie Patz was preparing breakfast when her 6-year-old son, Etan, made a request that would change not only their lives, but all of American society forever. He wanted to walk to the school bus stop alone for the first time. A walk of just 2 blocks that would transform into a family's worst nightmare, and one of the most influential cases in American criminal history. Etan Patz was a child like any other in the SoHo neighborhood of New York. Blonde hair, charming smile, and a charismatic personality that won over everyone around him. On that fateful day, he wore his favorite blue t-shirt with the word future printed on the front, jeans and sneakers. An image that would be forever etched in American collective memory. His mother, Julie, hesitated for a few moments before agreeing to her son's request. After all, he had just turned 6 and showed enough maturity to make that small journey alone. It was only 2 blocks away, in a neighborhood she considered safe. At 7:50 in the morning, Etan left home for the last time. Julie watched him from the window as he walked down Prince Street toward the bus stop on West Broadway. The boy carried his blue lunchbox and $1 he had earned the day before to buy a soda at school. She saw him turn the corner and disappear from her sight. She would never see him again. When Etan didn't come home from school that afternoon, Julie initially thought he might have gone to play at a friend's house. But as hours passed and calls to other parents revealed nothing about the boy's whereabouts, panic began to set in. At 5 in the afternoon, when Etan Patz, a photographer and Etan's father, arrived home, the family had already realized that something terrible had happened. They immediately contacted the police, but the initial response was discouraging. Officers explained that they needed to wait 24 hours before officially filing a missing person report. For Etan's parents, every passing minute was an eternity. They knew their son and understood that he would never get lost or run away from home. Stan and Julie spent the entire night walking through the neighborhood streets, going door to door, showing photos of Etan to anyone they encountered. The SoHo community, known for its unity, quickly mobilized to help in the search. Neighbors, friends, and even strangers joined the efforts to find the missing boy. The following morning brought a massive search operation. The New York Police Department, the FBI, and hundreds of volunteers scoured every corner of the neighborhood. They checked sewers, basements, rooftops, garbage cans, and anywhere a small child could be. Bloodhounds were brought in, helicopters flew over the area, and divers inspected the Hudson River, but there was no sign of Etan Patz. Etan Patz, using his skills as a photographer, created something that had never been done before in missing person cases. He produced professional posters with Etan's photo and spread them throughout New York. The image of the smiling boy soon became omnipresent in the city. These posters were pasted on poles, shop windows, subway stations, and any available surface. It was impossible to walk through Manhattan streets without seeing Etan Patz's face. The case quickly gained national attention. Newspapers across the country featured Etan's photo on their front pages. Television programs dedicated special segments to the disappearance. The story deeply touched the hearts of Americans, especially parents who identified with the terror experienced by the Patz family. For the first time, the entire country was united in the search for a missing child. As days turned into weeks and weeks into months, the investigation took various directions. Police questioned hundreds of people, followed dozens of leads, and investigated numerous suspects. Every phone call, every reported sighting, every conspiracy theory was meticulously verified. Homeless people, known pedophiles, people with suspicious behavior in the neighborhood, all were questioned and had their alibis checked. One of the first suspects was a man who had been seen talking to children in the area. Another was a local store employee who showed unusual interest in young boys. There were also reports of a suspicious van seen in the area on the day of the disappearance. Each lead seemed promising initially, but all led to dead ends. The frustration of the family and investigators grew each day. For years, the Patz family lived in a terrible emotional limbo. They didn't know if Etan was alive or dead, if he had been kidnapped, or if something even worse had happened. Julie developed an obsessive routine of checking the front door lock dozens of times per night, always hoping that her son might come home. Stan channeled his pain into activism, working tirelessly to change laws and procedures related to missing children. The impact of Etan's disappearance on American society was revolutionary. Before this case, missing children rarely received national attention. There were no established protocols, alert systems, or mass awareness campaigns. The Etan case changed all of that. In 1983, President Ronald Reagan declared May 25th, the anniversary of Etan's disappearance, as National Missing Children's Day. The country's obsession with the case also had profound cultural consequences. Parents began to be more protective of their children. The era of childhood freedom, where children played alone in the street until nightfall, came to an end. New collective fears about stranger danger and kidnappings emerged. Milk cartons began featuring photos of missing children, a practice that began directly as a result of the Etan case. For more than 3 decades, the case remained unsolved. The family never gave up searching for answers. They kept Etan's room exactly as he had left it, with his toys, books, and clothes untouched. Annually, on the anniversary of the disappearance, they organized vigils and renewed appeals for information. In 2012, 33 years after the disappearance, a dramatic breakthrough finally occurred. Pedro Hernandez, a 51-year-old man who had worked at a store in the area at the time of the disappearance, approached police and confessed to killing Etan Patz. His confession was detailed and disturbing. He claimed to have lured the boy into the basement of the store where he worked, strangled him, and then disposed of the body in a dumpster. The confession brought relief and at the same time renewed suffering for the Patz family. They finally had an answer, but also confirmation that Etan had died on the same day he disappeared. Hernandez was arrested and charged with second-degree murder. However, the legal case proved complex due to the time that had passed and questions about the confessor's mental health. Hernandez's first trial in 2015 resulted in a hung jury. Some members questioned the credibility of his confession, pointing to possible mental health issues and the absence of physical evidence. In 2017, a second trial was held. This time, Hernandez was found guilty and sentenced to life in prison. The verdict brought closure to one of the most emblematic cases in American criminal history. For Stan and Julie Patz, now grandparents, it was the end of a nearly 40-year journey searching for the truth about their son's fate. They could finally grieve their loss properly and begin a healing process that had been impossible during decades of uncertainty. Etan Patz's legacy goes far beyond his tragic death. His case fundamentally transformed how America deals with missing children. The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children was created. Alert systems were developed and laws were passed to better protect children. The innocent smile of a 6-year-old boy became the catalyst for profound social changes that endure to this day. The story of Etan Patz reminds us of the fragility of innocence and how a single moment can alter countless lives. His disappearance marked the end of an era of innocence in America, but also the beginning of a new awareness about child safety. Although Etan never came home, his memory continues to protect other children through the lasting changes his case provoked in American society.